Hi friends, welcome to our next pick a card reading. If you're new here, I'm Jana. I'm a tarot reader, astrologer, Akashic Records reader, and I post semi-frequent, weekly, maybe soon, pick a card readings, and I focus on an array of topics, on healing, on growth, on spiritual connection, relationships, all sorts of stuff. So you can follow me here if you want more of that. Today's pick a card reading is going to be focused on what your next creative or business venture will be. And this should give you hints and maybe help you kind of crystallize the ideas that have been swimming around in your head already, or kind of inspire you anew. If you're feeling a little bit creatively blocked, maybe you'll get some inspiration in this reading today. So as usual, I'm going to do 3 groups, 3 different decks, and I'll introduce you to each of those decks in a second. You can intuitively choose based on the imagery of the back of the deck. You can choose based on the crystal for each of the groups, and I'll hold them up one by one. And I just want to kind of say ahead of time that all collective tarot readings that you listen to on YouTube and in other places, just use your discernment when you absorb this information. Make sure to pass it through your own filter. This is a reading for so many people on the internet in so many different situations. And so while the crux of the reading will hopefully be really resonant with you, you may need to personalize the details and kind of fill in the blanks yourself and take in what resonates with you and just say no to what doesn't. As they say, take what resonates and leave the rest. Okay, let's get into it. So we have 3 groups, starting with our Cosmic Slumber Tarot. This is by artist Tillie Walden, and this is what the back of the deck looks like. And your crystal today is this rose quartz tumbler. So if you find these colors or this crystal appealing, then this is for you. Our second group is the Thoth Tarot by Crowley and others. And the crystal here is a pink jasper. And then finally, our third group is the Modern Witch Tarot. And this is by Lisa Sturl. And this is, I always forget, I think this is onyx. So go ahead and take a second. If you want to see them all side by side, you can look at the thumbnail for this video and choose that way. Okay, you can use the chapters function to jump ahead or find the timestamps in the description. Hi, group 1. If you chose the Cosmic Slumber Tarot by Tillie Walden and the Rose Quartz Tumbler, this is your reading. So interestingly, when I shuffled, I meant to just pull 1 anchor card for each group, but your group came out with 2. And so that could be because you might be initiating 2 things at once. You might be choosing between 2 ventures, or this might be kind of a dual project where there are kind of like 2 pieces to it, or like a dual venture. So we'll dig into that to understand a little bit more deeply. But first, let me actually speak to the anchor cards that we have here. So our first one is the Prince of Swords. And in other decks, this would be the Knight of Swords. You can see that the imagery of this card, this this figure has kind of a menacing look to them. They're holding this sword that has like, they have blood at the tip of the sword and it's on their armor. And they just have this sort of like almost creepy expression on their face, like they've just come out of a battle. And the Knight of Swords can be someone who's quite sharp. You know, they literally wield a sword, and because they're only partway into their journey, they're sort of still learning and developing. And so I get the sense that for some of you, this next venture for you might be kind of focused on like intellectual debate. It might have some level of aggression or conflict. You might be serving as some type of advocate. And it could be that you have to kind of go to bat for a particular group, for a particular belief. And there's this element of needing to be armored, maybe needing to be more defensive, or maybe that's just the energy that's kind of showing up in whatever this is for you. So this could be something that's quite competitive, because a knight is someone who typically engages in some type of battle and is meant to kind of serve and protect and defend. And so you could feel, and I'm glancing down at my oils that I have here called Fear Not and Protection. And so there could be some maybe fear that this brings up for you. Maybe this is something that really takes you out of your comfort zone and that causes you to have to step up in a way, again, to defend something, advocate for something. Because we're talking about swords, that brings me into the mind. It brings me into the intellect, into communication, maybe writing. I'm getting the sense that for some of you, again, I keep saying like advocacy, like this could be social justice, this could be writing, like kind of tantalizing things and maybe speaking out. Maybe you're someone who's voicing unpopular opinions, or sort of like cutting through deception even. And again, that kind of brings in this element of conflict, like needing to experience some tension in whatever it is that you are setting off to do. The second card that we have here is the Four of Pentacles. And so this is earth energy. And the Four of Pentacles sometimes is about material security and a focus on sort of amassing the resources that we need for survival and for security. But at times that focus can lead into more materialism or a sort of like mentality of wanting to hoard or to really protect. And so the same kind of almost defensive feeling and spirit is coming from this card too. And so to translate that over to a venture or like a project, I'm really feeling like there's an energy of defense. Like maybe you're protecting land. Maybe you're protecting people, protecting resources. It's really going to vary for everyone. But like I think of like land defenders who maybe like try to protect a water source or protect, trees or protect, a piece of land from being ravaged or stolen. And so maybe land back initiatives are even a piece of this for some of you. Maybe for some of you, it's kind of the opposite. Like it's more focused on, I'm just going to say like the exploitation of natural resources. So I'll let you find your own meaning in this. But the feeling that I get here is really that it's focused on protection. And that is coming through over and over and over again. And so again, these could be two different things, or these could just be kind of illuminating maybe two different sides of this project or this venture. So I will say that for some of you, this has to do more with like finances. Like maybe you work in the financial industry, or maybe that's like part of your career. But I would say like be thoughtful and be cautious about this, because I feel like you're going to need to come into integrity and to make sure that you're rooting whatever this is in values, in true values, and to not focus so much on like the material gain that you can amass from it, but to make sure you're, again, making choices that are in integrity. Okay, let's get more context here. So could you tell me a little bit more about the Prince of Swords? What are we meant to know here? So we have the Three of Cups in reverse. And we have the Five of Swords in reverse. Yeah, so there is like a lot of discord here. For some of you, it feels like this could be a little bit like verging on theft. And so again, like be wise in your decisions, be thoughtful, and that's only going to apply to some of you. But the Three of Cups in reverse indicates that there's some type of discord in community or in friendships. And then the Five of Swords in reverse feels like, you know, when it's upright, it's more about us kind of like taking a shortcut to maybe even like cheat our enemies out of something. It's like a sword battle. You like steal someone's swords and take them away and they're not able to defend themselves, kind of thing. In the reverse, to me, this card often means that we're sort of setting down our swords and maybe deciding to walk away from something that's not worth our energy, our investment, and our focus. And so the idea of like choosing your battles feels really important here. And I think that that's going to be a big part of this venture for you, is that you're going to need to be really thoughtful and identify when you might be verging into like overly strategic thinking in community. Like you might be kind of feeling this constant need to defend yourself, or feeling like on edge and suspicious of other people, even suspicious that they might steal from you. And so you kind of take on this like defensive or even offensive position that ends up creating conflict where it didn't need to be, because you're sort of projecting that onto the situation. So that's just kind of a cautionary message for this. But alternatively, what could come up here is that you could be like writing or speaking about stuff like this. So an example would be, again, like highlighting the ways that people have, like especially Indigenous people, have had land stolen from them. Or maybe it's cultural appropriation, or maybe there's like something that you are really kind of calling out and bringing attention to, and that you act as an advocate on behalf of a movement, or you get involved in a movement. But it feels like this is more of a solo venture, because the Three of Cups in reverse tells me that like you might even be walking away from a community and kind of like setting off on more of a solo path here. And that might be a piece of this for you, is potentially leaving a community behind. This is really specific, but I'm hearing for some of you, you could be even like leaving a cult or have left a cult at some point in your life. And part of your path is speaking out about that. And so by nature of doing that, that's a really like bold move to do that, and a really admirable one. But needing to be like, maybe you're in a defensive posture because you know that can be a dangerous thing to do. And so maybe the people that you're speaking out against hold a lot of power and privilege, and you're needing to actually be defensive because it's potentially an unsafe thing, but a necessary thing from your perspective. So I think that's probably more resonant for most of you, but I think there is a subgroup of you who might be kind of like wanting to steal something, or to like focus on like taking something from people and not in a sort of like righteous way. So be careful, be thoughtful. I definitely do not encourage you to do that. I'm going to discourage you from doing that in a big way. Okay, let's look at the Four of Pentacles. So here we have the Empress. And this is a really beautiful card in this deck. We see a figure who's breastfeeding a child. And the Empress often is portrayed as like a maternal figure, but not always. The Empress is connected to Venus and kind of by proxy Taurus and Libra, which are ruled by Venus. And let's get one more. We have the Six of Torches or the Six of Wands. This is a Leo card. So I think the Three of Cups is a Cancer card for what it's worth. I think the Five of Swords is Gemini, but I could be wrong about that. And then the Prince of Swords is typically an Aquarius card. Four of Pentacles is Capricorn. Okay, so those signs could be relevant for you, but maybe not. So this is bringing me into what feels like very, very creative. It feels like a very nutritive venture. I mean, seeing the Empress and the Six of Wands here is really beautiful. It could be that the Four of Pentacles is like you're starting with a focus that is a little bit more focused on building your personal security and your foundation, like your material foundation. And then with the Empress, it feels like there's a desire to really bring a lot of nurturance and like juiciness and sensuality into this. This could be that you're helping to provide for other people. The Six of Wands is a card of success and celebration. It's like we've won a battle. And so again, that could be relevant for some of you, that there is a battle that needs to be fought of some kind. And it may have to do with providing safety and even respite or what's the word I'm looking for? Like sanctuary for people. Like this could be you helping to provide sanctuary for immigrants who cross the border. This could be you defending, again, like land. Just it comes up for a lot of you. So that could be really relevant. There is really this energy of like safety. How can I create sanctuary? Maybe it's sanctuary for animals. And it does feel like there's a sort of like really righteous like cause here for the majority of you. And for those of you where that doesn't apply so much, I get the sense that you are kind of focused on creating your own sanctuary. Maybe some of you are even like interior designers, or you are creating a space. You're creating a space or like a brick and mortar that can act as a sort of sanctuary. I'm seeing like a tea shop or, you know, a bookstore or some type of community space that gives people a place to relax, recover, heal, etc. And so we have these really kind of, it's an interesting polarity here. I feel like whatever this is, it's going to be really successful. The Six of Wands is a really awesome card to get when we're asking about a venture. So I do feel that whatever it is that you're picking up is a really beautiful path for you. And just again, want to encourage you to use your discernment. Okay. That's it. If this was helpful and resonated with you, please do like. You can comment to let me know which pile you chose and what landed for you. And please do subscribe if you want more of my videos and if you like my style. I'll be posting more often, probably weekly pick-a-cards, and then I also post collective tarot readings at least a couple times a week, along with short readings over on TikTok and more stuff on Instagram. And you can find me on both platforms at Feeling Loudly. And if you'd like a personal reading, I do offer tarot, astrology, and Akashic Records readings, and you can also find the link in the description. It's under my link tree. All right. Thank you, Group 1. I'll see you soon. Bye. Hi, Group 2. If you chose the Thoth Tarot and this pink jasper, this is you. All right. So I will start with your anchor card and we'll kind of get a sense of the overall theme or focus of this venture for you. And then we'll pull some extra cards to dig a little bit deeper. Wow. Okay. So it's going to be successful, whatever it is, because we have the 10 of Pentacles coming out here. This is like the epitome of material success. In this deck, it's called wealth. So it feels prosperous. It could be you, like, I'm seeing that a home is involved for many of you. I'm seeing that you might actually be launching a business, or even introducing, if you have an existing business and you're a business owner, it could be like you introducing new packages or services that are really successful. And I get that sense because the 10 of Pentacles often refers to sort of like, could even be like generational wealth more traditionally, or sort of like the resources that we cultivate as a community. The 10 being the end of a journey means that there's some sense of like completion and finality to it before we begin a new cycle. And so for some of you, again, this is something you've already been building for a long time. And it's just that you're sort of taking it to the next level, elevating it, and maybe kind of reimagining the structure or the form that it exists in. And for others of you, it feels like, I'm seeing like, for some of you, even a community garden or something that is really focused on community resources. Like it could be focused more on like mutual aid. It could be focused on kind of like helping to grow the resources that you and your community have access to in some way, as in the material resources. So let's get some more cards to dig a little bit deeper. Could you tell me more about this 10 of Pentacles? Wow, beautiful. Interesting. Okay. Let's start here and then I'll get more. So we have the Ace of Cups and the Five of Cups coming out, which is a really interesting combination. The Ace of Cups is about sort of a rebirth of love. It's a new beginning. Often it's connected to self-love, but it can be creative inspiration or a feeling of kind of like your cup being filled once more. The Five of Cups, on the other hand, is often about loss and sort of emotional letdown. It can be sadness, sorrow, or disappointment, as this card is called. And sometimes this comes after a phase of maybe apathy where we haven't really appreciated what's in front of us. And then we lose something and we end up focusing so much on what we've lost that we can't be present for what we still have. In more like standard depictions, this card features 3 cups that have been overturned, but 2 that are still upright. Yet we find ourselves focusing on those 3 spilled cups. And so the feeling that I'm getting here is that it feels like you all may be moving on from some type of loss or disappointment. Like maybe you recently launched something or were involved in some kind of project that really didn't turn out the way that you'd hoped. And you are sort of coming back around and finding a renewed appreciation for one of those cups that's still upright and sort of investing your energy in that. And so for most of you listening, it feels like I'm speaking to a project, again, that's like already in flow, or something that you might be returning your attention to after sort of like either neglecting it, overlooking it, or just kind of putting it on the back burner. For a lot of you, I feel like you're artists, and this could be you like returning to a piece of a work that you sort of like set aside or lost hope in. and you're going back to it because you recognize that you've gotten this like new inspiration, this new feeling of excitement. For a lot of you, it's you trimming down, and I'm kind of focusing on like entrepreneurs or, practitioners of some kind, because that is the general vibe that I'm getting here, but I'll speak to other circumstances in a second, so stick with me. I feel like for those of you who are more on like the artistic side, or even kind of spiritual or healing practitioners, maybe readers yourself, this again is you sort of like trimming down what you offer to get to the heart of like your authentic passions. So you could feel like you're carrying a lot of burdens right now, or like you've sort of picked up so much that you don't have a whole lot of space to focus on simplicity, to like focus, period. You just have a lot going on maybe. And so this new opportunity for you is more so about how you focus and what you focus on that might already be in front of you. For others of you, I feel like this is you picking up a new artistic hobby. I'm hearing painting for some of you. I'm hearing like, we do have water cups, so I'm hearing like watercolor. And this could be less so about like a business venture, something you're trying to like profit off of. It could be a beautiful pastime, a hobby that for you is sacred. And for you, you have no desire to monetize this. It's more so about the love that you have for this. And I say that because the Ace of Cups is a beautiful card of love and inspiration. And I think for a lot of you, the sort of security that this might offer is more of like a side effect than it is a priority. It feels like you are doing something or will be doing something that you just have such a deep love for and such a deep passion for, that at some point it like naturally helps provide security for you. And that may mean because you love to do it so much and you also need to make money. And so eventually you decide, like, I'm gonna maybe start offering this service or start selling this work so that I can eventually transition over to doing this and maybe spend more of my time on this. If you're like someone who has a day job and then you make art or offer readings or do something on the side. And so it feels like there is this, again, this focus that like the intention behind it is really sincere and is really rooted in love, in true love. So I'm going to get a little more context here. Maybe we can get more specifics. Let's get to you, please. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we have the Ten of Swords in reverse. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles upright. And so there is this like reiteration of the idea that something has come to an end and it may have caused you a lot of pain, or this may be like a long ago ending that caused you a lot of pain. And I'm like, my back is hurting. My neck is hurting as I'm saying that. And I'm realizing how I was like hunched over. And so for some of you, you could even be like a body worker or someone who is more of a somatic healer. And this could be you even engaging in some type of healing that helps you release past trauma, past pain, and then move into a new chapter of your life that is more focused on independence and security and really like a lot of abundance. We have the 9 and the 10 of Pentacles. And so I feel like for some of you, you may be sort of creating from the pain that you've experienced in your life. Like I say that because of this path from the 10 of Swords in reverse to the 9 of Pentacles upright. The 10 of Swords in the upright is like often an abrupt and painful ending. Sometimes it's like a betrayal. It can be traumatic. It can be really painful. When it's in the reverse, sometimes it means that we're avoiding a necessary ending, or that there's an ending from our past that we just are still kind of hanging on to. And so that's why I get the sense that for a lot of you, this is something that's sort of in your distant past. Like maybe you're reflecting back on your childhood experiences, or I'm hearing like the racism that you've experienced throughout your life, or like the systemic violence and trauma that has been embedded in your lineage. Like this could be like lineage healing and ancestral healing too. And then with the 9 of discs, the 9 of pentacles, there's really this focus on like, I can be this independent and like internally wealthy person. Like there's a lot of resource here. There's a lot of personal resources here. And that does not have to mean finances. That can mean like, look at the abundance of knowledge and wisdom that I've accumulated in my life. And how can I now offer these resources to the world in a way that is cohesive? So again, like I feel like you're sort of a multi-talented group that has a lot to offer the world. And you may have at times held yourself back and kind of questioned your own gifts. But I get the sense that this new chapter for you is, again, kind of about this like repackaging. Like, how can I unite my gifts and offer them together as this sort of like beautiful picture of unity of these different parts of myself that honor my culture, my legacy, or the legacy of my ancestors, that honor my own personal experiences and my own gifts. And I really do feel that in doing this, you're going to end up healing a lot of your past, because it feels like it's so self-honoring, and it's so honoring and maybe respectful of the traditions that you've been raised in, or like the lineages, as in like the spiritual lineages that you're a part of. So many of you feel like quite witchy. You feel like you are probably more of like the spiritists and the mystics and the artists and the creatives. And you're really like developing this confidence with the way that you present all of that, all of these parts of yourself. And again, this feels very successful. However you define success, like this is it. So I'm going to really encourage you to pour yourself into this and to really continue to honor your gifts, to allow them to be seen, and to just always come back to your values, to come back to the sort of ethics and values that guide you in your own sort of compass, because it feels strong. It feels like you have a very strong foundation. And I think this is going to be really beautiful for you. So please let me know if you want to, if you feel like sharing, like, what do you do? What do you love? What is it that you're thinking about? I would love to be able to like actually visualize what this is. And it's cool. It feels really, really lovely. All right, y'all, that is all I have. If this resonated, please do like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're interested in a personal reading, you can find the link in the description box. You can click on the link tree down there. I offer tarot, astrology, and Akashic Records readings. And you can find me over on TikTok and Instagram at Feeling Loudly for like shorter bite-sized readings and writings and stuff like that. And you can subscribe to my newsletter for 10% off a personal reading. Okay, so really excited to see what you do, or to hear about it, or just for it to happen for you, whether or not I hear about it. Okay, take care, group 2. Bye. Hi, group 3. If you chose the Modern Witch Tarot by Lisa Sturl and what I think is black onyx, this is your reading. Okay, so for your group, interestingly, we got 2 anchor cards come out, and this also happened for group 1. I don't get the sense that your groups are connected, but if you were also like hovering over the idea of choosing group 1, maybe you want to go back and watch that also after this one. All right, so with 2 cards coming out, it might mean that these are 2 different projects that you might be initiating at the same time, or like 2 different ventures, 2 different hobbies, whatever the case. Or it could just be showing us kind of 2 sides of one thing. So kind of fill in the details to make sense of it. Okay, so I think a lot of you are connected to group 1 because we have a repeat card coming out here. The first one is the 5 of Swords in reverse. And the second one is the 8 of Pentacles, also in reverse. All right, so the feeling that I'm getting off the bat is that this is something that really combines communication and the mind with sort of like earthy, practical wisdom or practice. I'm hearing that for a lot of you, this is focused on like ritual. The 5 of Swords in reverse tells me that we're sort of maybe walking away from an unnecessary conflict. And so for a lot of you, it feels like this could be mental conflict that's coming to an end, and that you are making a clear choice about what you want to move forward with. This could be like leaving a job behind, leaving behind something that's been really disruptive, not in a fun way, like chaotic, it feels like, or closing out a chapter and deciding you don't want to engage in some type of conflict anymore. And I say that because with the 8 of Pentacles, that feels in reverse. It feels to me like there's a breaking of a commitment. And so your new venture could actually be you leaving a job that's not been great for your health, a job that's not been great for your well-being, and maybe something that's been really stressful for you. And maybe you're contemplating, where do I want to go from here? Because I can't do that again. Like, I know that's not right, so what is? And so I get the sense that these first 2 cards coming out are just kind of showing us the overall energy that you're in right now. Maybe you're even frustrated with something that you have been putting a lot of time and energy into, and you're deciding that further investment is not a smart choice for you because it's maybe burnt you out. Maybe it's sort of like just not resonating in the way that you had hoped it would, or it just feels like you're kind of pouring into like a leaky bucket, and all the energy you put into it just feels like it keeps like pouring out the bottom and you're not really seeing the results. For some of you, this could be because of impatience, or maybe you're needing to actually sort of like shore up the foundation of something that you've already been focusing on instead of like moving on to something else. So I'm going to advise that you kind of check in with yourself and really ask yourself, is this discomfort coming from the fact that I'm just out of alignment and this isn't it for me? Or am I maybe needing to give this a little bit more time and maybe try to see it from a new perspective before I abandon it? Let's get another card. This one came out too. Okay, so we have the 6 of Wands in reverse. So it does feel like this is something that has not been, quote, successful so far. And it's you wanting a new start, wanting a new beginning. I'm going to say that it feels like there could be some sort of like ego stuff coming up here for some of you. I have one card that's flipped in the, what am I trying to say? It's flipped around in the deck, so I'm going to take that too. But it could be that this is sort of like ego stuff for you, like you maybe felt like you were expecting quick success or expecting recognition of some kind for the work that you've been doing. And maybe that's not ego at all. Maybe it's just that like you've been really kind of working hard and you have not received like affirmation at a job, or you haven't been recognized for the amount of effort and care that you've been putting into something. But for others of you, it does feel like you just had certain expectations for the way that your work would be received. And maybe you have taken a lot of shortcuts and you haven't really kind of invested yourself into something quite authentically. And so it's more so that this is kind of that like voice of maybe insecurity that's coming up that's saying like, I should be more seen, I should be more visible, I should be congratulated or whatever for the work that you've been putting in. So find whatever makes sense for you, whatever fits. With the Two of Pentacles coming up as this extra card that popped out, it feels like there's a real energy of you needing to prioritize and to make a choice. You might be juggling a job and like a side gig. You might be juggling a project and another project. We did have these two cards come out. And so again, these could be two different things. This could be on the one hand, a job that feels unfulfilling to you. And on the other hand, maybe a creative venture or like an artistic venture or a business venture that you've been investing in, but like not seeing that payoff from. And so you're here in the middle, kind of like weighing, like, where do I put my focus? What is going to sustain me? What is actually going to help me to feel fulfilled? So let me get another card here with a little bit more information. So the Four of Swords is coming up. And I will say this reading is taking a turn, and it's feeling less so about like what your next venture is, like creative or business or whatever, so much as it is kind of giving you advice on how to find the perspective that you need in the situation that you're presently in. So your advice here is to rest. It feels like you need to give yourself a break. It feels like you need to recuperate from a period that's been really trying for you. The Four of Swords follows the Three of Swords. And so sometimes we've experienced a heartbreak. Sometimes we've experienced a loss or some type of blow. And it could be a blow to our ego or a sense of self with the Six of Wands in reverse that has really caused us to feel dejected and to feel kind of bummed out by our prospects, by the way things are going. And I feel like a lot of you are in that state of mind where you're just disappointed with what you see in front of you. And again, your advice here is to give yourself space. Maybe you're sort of trying to jump forward mentally because that provides some feeling of maybe like security or safety to have a sense of what could be next. But I think what your guides are wanting you to do instead is to really be with whatever pain is coming up now. Because none of this is happening because you're a bad person or because you are like naive or, maybe that's true for some of you. Maybe there's some level of kind of having unrealistic expectations for yourself and for whatever it is that you've been working on. But I feel like for a lot of you, you feel like really ambitious and motivated, not all the time, but a lot of the time, to really create something kind of like I'm hearing brilliant and maybe bold. And maybe there's an element of you, again, kind of wanting celebration for what it is that you create and for what it is that you do. So let me get a little bit more insight on this Five of Swords and then one more on the Eight of Pentacles. So with the Five of Swords in reverse, our clarifier is the Nine of Wands. And so this brings me back to that feeling of being really burdened. Like if you've been working a job that really wears you out. You could feel like you're sort of on your last leg here. But I feel like for most of you, you don't feel like you have a whole lot of options in front of you. And there's this sense of, again, dejection that comes up when you think about that. There is sometimes with the Nine of Wands, this like encouragement to stick with it because you're almost at the end of a journey. So take that with a grain of salt. For some of you, this could be like, I just need to make it through the month, or I just need to make it through the end of this year so I can sort of like, cover my expenses and find another opportunity and like figure out what's next. And I just need to kind of keep going and putting one foot in front of the other for now. So that could very well be true for a lot of you. For others of you, it's feeling like this burden there's no end in sight. And you don't really have much of an option to like delegate or like pass things off to other people or get support from other people. It feels like kind of like a lonely and overwhelming journey. And so if that's true for you, again, the message here is to prioritize rest when you can, because I think you feel burnt out, you feel tired, and I think that it's causing you to view your potential in a really narrow way. Like you kind of have these blinders on and you can only see so many very limited options in front of you because you're just tired. Like your spirit is tired, your body is probably tired, your mind is definitely tired. And so if you can carve out maybe a weekend to like not have plans, or a couple days to not have plans, to just take a rest, to give yourself space and time to just relax and to unplug and to allow yourself to be rejuvenated. I know that's not an option for everyone. I know that unfortunately rest is a privilege in this day and age for most of us. And so if that's the case for you, maybe this means just kind of plugging in moments of peace where you can. Like even just taking 3 minutes in your day to like sit quietly and breathe. Maybe it's, going to bed slightly earlier if you can manage that, or just finding these like little practical ways to insert more rest into your day so that you do have the opportunity to at least like recuperate a little bit before you just set off on the next thing. Our clarifier for the Eight of Pentacles in reverse is the King of Swords. And so I do get the feeling that for a lot of you, you've been working on something where you are kind of like in charge in some way. And this could be like a personal venture, it could be a business venture. Writing might be relevant for some of you. The King of Swords is really discerning. There's someone who can like be like the cutoff king, like they can like cut people off, like no problem. And they have really strong boundaries usually. And so they're often described as like cold or even like unfeeling. And that's sometimes true, but not always. They just really prioritize like rational thinking. And so whatever this like focus is that you've been working on, I am seeing some of you maybe laboring over a book. Maybe like look at this Eight of Pentacles figure. It looks like they're working on some type of like art, like digital art. And that's like them coming back to it day after day after day. And even like doing the same thing over and over again so they can master it. But with the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, again, sometimes we maybe are wavering in our commitment. And so with the King of Swords coming out to clarify this, I do feel like you kind of need to be disciplined with yourself when it comes to this and say, if this is something that truly like lights me up, if this is something that truly feels aligned for me, then what choices do I need to make in order to make this happen? And sort of just like renewing your commitment to it by just making a choice and being like, this is it, we're doing it. And this is the schedule and this is the time I'm going to be doing it. however you need to set boundaries probably in order to make this happen. On the other hand, this could be you deciding like this extra project right now is weighing me down to the point that like I don't have time for myself. I don't have time for pleasure, for rest. And so for now, I need to kind of cut this off or bring it to an end so that I can refocus my attention on what's going to help me kind of find my base level security, and then I can come back to it. So, yeah, I know this veered away a lot from the kind of focus and topic of the reading, but it was what was needed here. So if you made it all the way through, I assume it was relevant for you and it's what you needed to hear. If this was helpful, please comment, please like. I'm curious if you want to share what's going on for you and kind of the choice that you're making or the position that you're in. That's always welcome in the comments. And if you're interested in more readings, please do subscribe if you haven't already. And you can also find the link to book a personal reading in the description. It's my link tree. You can see it down below. So I hope you guys find the clarity that you need, and I really do hope that you get to rest and restore. It feels so important. Okay, take care, group 3. Bye.